I was blacklisted from the time I was 22.
In 1951, a young actress named Lee Grant was on the threshold of greatness. Only 25 years old, she had secured her first Oscar nomination for her gritty, unforgettable role in Detective Story opposite Kirk Douglas. It ought to have been the breakthrough that established her in Hollywood legend. Yet, 2 days later, her name was mentioned in a government report charging her with communist sympathies. Within a split second, her career was ruined, her phone was bugged, and her every step was trailed by the FBI. She was blacklisted for 12 agonizing years, struck from film and TV. Her promising career burned to dust. Her finances plummeted from $75,000 annually to less than $4,000. She sold her jewels to purchase food, instructed acting under false names, and observed the world forget about her. But not known to the world was that this young actress had been enduring adversity all her life. Lee Grant was born Lyova Haskell Rosenthal on October 31st, 1925 in Manhattan to Russian Jewish immigrants who had escaped savage violence in Odessa. Her parents, Wittia and Abraham, bore the marks of loss and displacement. They came to New York with nothing but themselves, living in a small apartment on 148th Street and Riverside Drive. Her father cycled through work as a teacher and realtor to keep them afloat throughout the Great Depression, and her mother, troubled by trauma, invested all her emotional energy in her sole daughter. Lee's childhood was not one of play, but of performance. Her mother pushed her into ballet, opera, and acting lessons, hoping that art could rescue them both. At the age of 4, Lee was standing in front of the golden lights of the Metropolitan Opera, singing on stage with world-renowned singers as the kidnapped princess in La Gioconda. That moment ignited a flame that would never dwindle, yet behind the ovations, her home life was collapsing. Her mother's mental illness worsened, and at age 10, Lee discovered her mother following a suicide attempt, an image that would forever haunt her. Amidst the turmoil, Lee's own gift flourished. She was accepted into the American Ballet Theater at age 11, one of the youngest ever accepted, but her body failed her. A growth spurt rendered her too tall for ballet partners, and overnight her dreams collapsed. The family had no money. Her father's wages just paid the rent, and Lee became the breadwinner at age 12, dancing wherever she could in order to put food on the table. As other kids attended school, she practiced, sang, danced, and acted, bearing the weight of her family's survival on her own slight shoulders. The strain etched resilience into her psyche. At age 17, she recreated herself, dropping her birth name for Lee Grant, a moniker that would look good on a Broadway marquee. Her professional debut was in 1948 in Joy to the World, and even without formal stage training, she shocked critics with her natural talent. She was soon working with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, immersing herself in method acting, a technique based on raw emotion and reality. By 1951, she was sweeping Hollywood with Detective Story, receiving rave reviews, and that initial Oscar nomination. The future had been limitless until politics got in the way. Her husband, screenwriter Arnold Manoff, was accused of Communist Party ties, and when Lee gave a passionate eulogy at a friend's funeral, blaming the government for causing his death, she inadvertently signed her own warrant. Within 2 days, her name surfaced in red channels, a government blacklist claiming entertainers had communist connections. She was just 24, but her career was finished. Within a week, she lost her studio contracts, her future roles, and her credibility. Even producers who had previously called her brilliant stopped answering her phone calls. The FBI surveilled her, bugged her phone, and tailed her out in public. Her friends disappeared. Folks were too scared to be photographed with her. The blacklist wasn't politicized, it was about control. The House Un-American Activities Committee called on actors to identify colleagues as communists in order to save themselves. Lee did not. She would not betray others. That moral choice cost her 12 years of her life. The consequences were severe. She and Manoff were both out of work, their livelihoods evaporated. To make ends meet, she taught acting clandestinely under phony names, accepting small theater work for money. Her marriage disintegrated under the pressure. By 1953, she was having to pawn jewels to feed their daughter, Dina. The stress cracked something within her. After she had been interrogated by WAC, she started having problems with her memory, her mind avoiding details as a coping mechanism. But even in that shadow, she would not give up. Between 1951 and 1963, she operated an illegal acting class from her apartment, instructing 15 to 20 students weekly for $25 apiece. One of them, Andy Sandy Dennis, would go on to win an Oscar. Lee spoke to her students the truth about Hollywood, the casting couches, manipulation, blacklist. Her honesty was the stuff of legend, but she was shattering inside. Her 3 times weekly therapy sessions cost her almost half her pay. She learned why she always agreed with powerful men, why she craved validation from men who abused her. Those years forged the woman who would come to be one of America's most fierce voices in film. Her marriage to Manoff dissolved in 1960 after a lifetime of betrayal and tension. He succumbed to a heart attack 4 years later, age 50. She held the blacklist responsible for his death. By 1964, her exile was over. A low-key legal favor removed her from the blacklist, and television gingerly welcomed her back. She was cast as Stella Chernak on Peyton Place that year, where she had 71 episodes. The performance revived her career, and in 1966, she won an Emmy. Frank Sinatra personally telephoned her to offer his congratulations. "You deserve it, kid." She was finally safe again for the first time in more than 10 years. Her return went on with In the Heat of the Night, 1967, with Sidney Poitier. When she found out about her husband's death in the film, she drew from her own sorrow. Her crying was real. Critics labeled it as one of the greatest scenes ever in movies. She then did Valley of the Dolls, 1967, in which she poured her own Hollywood wounds into the hard-nosed actress Miriam Poehler. Off-camera, she settled with her second husband, producer Joseph Fury. They had a daughter, Belinda, and established a life free of scandal. Her work became bold. In The Landlord, 1970, she portrayed a racist white mother, astounding audiences with her willingness to play ugliness to reveal truth. It brought her another Oscar nomination. But her final redemption was achieved in 1976 when she received the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Shampoo. Attired in a recycled wedding dress, she stepped onto the stage and joked, "I must have really wanted this. Otherwise, why would I wear an old wedding dress?" It was the win of a lifetime, confirmation that she had beaten the system that attempted to destroy her. She then proceeded with Voyage of the Damned, 1976, another of her Oscar-nominated performances, this time playing a Jewish refugee, a role close to her family's legacy. But even as she won, Hollywood's ageism waited for her in the wings. In her 50s, she received fewer and fewer offers. The studio that used to blacklist her now decreed she was too old. Instead of receding into obscurity, she rebooted once again, this time as a director. In 1980, at age 55, she made history with Tell Me a Riddle, the first feature film ever written, produced, and directed by women. She raised more than $1 million to produce it, a feat unheard of for a female director at the time. The film opened at Cannes and took Best Picture at the Edinburgh Film Festival. Suddenly, Lee Grant wasn't merely surviving Hollywood, she was transforming it. In 1986, she broke another barrier by taking the Directors Guild of America Award for Nobody's Child, a CBS movie about a woman's nervous breakdown. It was the first time any woman had taken the category since the Guild was founded 51 years before. She was 59, an age by which most actresses were forgotten. Her work as a director was as strong as her acting. She addressed topics nobody else was willing to approach. Life in Prison in When Women Kill, 1983, Trans Identity in What Sex Am I, 1985, and Poverty in Down and Out in America, 1986, Domestic Violence in Battered, 1989. She showed us the flaws in America's veneer, the voices of those that were silenced or overlooked. Down and Out in America took home the Academy Award for Best Documentary, making Lee Grant the sole actor in history to also receive an Oscar for directing. She did not merely make movies, she made statements. Her documentaries were utilized in classrooms, policy arguments, and movements for social justice. She took her agony and transformed it into purpose. By the 1990s, she was a mentor to young directors, reminding them often that survival qualified as success in itself. In 1989, Women in Film bestowed upon her its first Lifetime Achievement Award. Even as Hollywood softened its edge, Lee never did. She talked candidly about the blacklist, the sexism, and the trauma that had marked her. In her 2014 memoir, I Said Yes to Everything, she disclosed how much the blacklist affected her mind, how it resulted in memory loss and years of terror. But it also toughened her up. Then in 2023, in an interview, she made news again by matter-of-factly disclosing her real age, 97 and a half. She'd lied about it for decades, telling everyone she was 6 years younger, even training friends to do the same. Not vanity, she insisted. Survival. Research later revealed that women over the age of 50 are offered 78% fewer parts than men of the same age. Her truth-telling was one last act of defiance. Now 99, Lee Grant is Hollywood's oldest surviving director, a woman who lost it all and returned stronger. Turner Classic Movies has already made plans for a centennial celebration on her 100th birthday, October 31st, 2025. She continues to blog, defiantly displaying her silver hair and red lipstick, the same spark in her eye that took her through a century. Lee Grant's tale is not only one of survival, but of defiance. From the opera stage at 4 years of age to the blacklist at 24, from Hollywood banishment to Oscar-winning director, she weathered every storm and still would not break. The little girl of 148th Street, who danced on a fire escape, became a woman who revolutionized American cinema. Her life proves that even when a system tries to silence you, resilience can become the loudest voice of all.